So I'm going to open up the platform, and I'm going to talk through 3 different scenarios and talk about how Mr. Bates, who's our biology, our life science teacher, kind of uses OERs. And Fran's going to kind of jump in too at some various points. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Schoology, this is actually a course page. So right now I'm in Mr. Bates' life science course. He has all of his different periods assigned to one course, and so he has that kind of access. And what he's working on today specifically is this photosynthesis exam. He's wanting to create some questions that students can go through. And specifically, he's using our new assessment tool, which actually allows for a lot of new question items, ones that you might not even be familiar with. Right now, even some of our enterprise users are being able to take advantage of these. But if you're, for instance, a basic user, you have not seen these questions yet. So the question that he's working on specifically today is a show the cycle, which is a highlight image. And basically, he's wanting students to have an opportunity to actually draw right upon an image, and they're needing to show the photosynthesis cycle, how sunlight, oxygen, carbon dioxide interact in the photosynthesis process. So what he's going to do is he wants to find an image for that, and he wants to follow the Open Educational Resources kind of mandate. So he's going to jump over to Creative Commons, and I'm just going to open up Creative Commons here. And this is actually the website. So if you guys have had a chance to already click on that, this is what Creative Commons looks like. And underneath Use and Remix, there's an ability to search the commons. And I'm going to switch this over to a leaf. So I want to search for leaf on this particular example. And when I do that, it opens up this search window. Now, there are a lot of things here. Fran, can you talk through like what I'm seeing right now?
Right. So Adam's actually going to go right into Google Images, which is great. And basically what's going to happen is that rather than going directly to Google and then trying to filter through the usage rights, and there's a whole advanced search that you can do this, Creative Commons is doing that automatically for him. So what he's searching Leaf, it is also going to come back automatically with only the images that he can use for commercial purposes and that he can modify, adapt, or build upon, which sounds familiar, right? What we've been talking about. But there are other, if he's looking for images, there's a lot of other places he can go. There's Flickr, which you're all familiar with. There's clip art, and if you're just looking for, some kind of like line drawing, that really will be a great place. And the other one that I like a lot is Pixabay, and I was explaining to Adam before that Pixabay is much more user-friendly for elementary age students. And so, sometimes you'll go into Google Images, and even if you're filtering them for OER, they may not be appropriate to that age level, but Pixabay tends to be a little bit more so. So go ahead, Adam, and go right through that.
Yeah, okay, so I'll click on, so Mr. Bates can click on Google Images, and when he does that, something that even Fran mentioned is that there's actually a filter that's in place for images. By the way, this isn't available on any of the other options, but under images, it's labeled for reuse with modifications. So this is actually open resources that are available, and he can now click on maybe this picture of this particular leaf. And when he does that, he can right-click, get that URL. And when he gets the URL, he can open up Schoology again. And when he opens up Schoology, he can now just copy that text right into the area. And now when he goes to preview that question, he can have the image inserted directly in. The nice thing about this is that this curriculum is, again, open resource. This is something that he's taken from the OER kind of space with correct Creative Commons licensing and put it directly into his course ready to be used. And by the way, if you haven't seen the highlight imaging questions in Schoology, it's a real treat. We'll be following up with some ways to see that more. Now, the second scenario I wanted to talk through is like, okay, so now he's in his ecosystems folder. So he's gone out of the specific one on photosynthesis, and this is what he's greeted with, empty content. With this, he's going to go to another OER location, and that's the OER Commons. And I think this has, Fran mentioned this earlier, I think OER Commons is a great way to get really like high-level things about your units and about lessons. So he's going to actually select ecosystems, which is the topic that he's really wanting to see more information about. He can choose what subject area, the education level, the standards that he might be interested in. And when he goes to search, it pulls up a lot of different resources. And the one that he's going to see specifically is they're rated. He's going to click on the environments and ecosystems, and it pulls up this particular resource. Now, the important thing to know about OER Commons, and again, Fran, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that OER Commons has a lot of high-level documents. So it's not necessarily something that you're wanting to directly put into your LMS because it might not be interactive, right? It might just be a lesson plan, but it's still beneficial for Mr. Bates. Fran, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, no, and I wanted to also point out OER is kind of interesting that if any of you really want to see a much more kind of stringent evaluation, you can actually evaluate right within OER. There's an evaluate button right on top. So yeah, just for you to know that it is possible to go right into a rubric and evaluate. If you're doing this with a group of teachers and you're all, you know, working on this photosynthesis unit, it might be something where you might want to evaluate all the things that you're coming up with before you actually do your final curriculum. But as an individual teacher, go ahead, Adam. I think this is the right way to approach it.
Yeah, so essentially you have the lesson here, environments and ecosystem, you have a summary, and what Mr. Bates wants to do first is that he wants to actually create this as a lesson plan. So if he toggles back into Schoology, he can go up to add materials and then actually select add file or link, and he's going to create a link where he's just going to copy in the URL and then title it lesson plan, and then he's actually going to unpublish that. So now within this ecosystems folder, he actually has a link directly to that lesson plan that he can refer to as he goes, possibly uses it this year or even next year. Now, if he goes back into the OER Commons area and he scrolls down, he sees that there are a couple of different assessment options. Now, this is the big thing I want to point out. This is a traditional lesson plan. So it has, let's say, a pre-unit quiz, it has ideas for group discussions, it has maybe a picture discussion, but none of these are actually like content items. You know, some of them might be tied to a worksheet, some of them might be tied to a PDF that can be downloaded, but they're not necessarily content items. But what he can do is that he can take, let's say, this group discussion, copy that text, and then within Schoology, he can go up to add materials, and now he can actually create a discussion. So he can do add discussion, put in the title and the description, and then when he creates that, now that discussion is available for his students to actually be able to take part in. So again, it's a great way to be able to see free content that's out there, be able to see great lessons that are rated and commented on by the greater community, and be able to pull that into his actual course.
Right.
Now, the last scenario is I want to show you one of the great integrations that Schoology has with CK12. CK12 is one of these OERs that was mentioned earlier, and with Schoology, it allows you to actually create content right within the platform through the integration. I want to show you how that works. So if I am Mr. Bates, all he has to do is go up to add materials, and now on the right-hand side, there's this CK12 app. And when he clicks on the CK12 app, it actually opens up the CK12 repository right within Schoology. So he's not going to another website, he's not going to another link or opening up another tab. It's right here in a pop-up window. And then he can go to the search window. He can search for, let's say, ecosystems. And when he selects a particular one, it's going to pull up all the resources that are available in CK12 that are actually content items for students to go through. So maybe you want them to read something or an article. Maybe it's a video, or maybe it's a link to a real-world website. In this particular example, he's going to choose an assessment because he wants the students to actually go through some questions. And when he presses add, now that CK12 piece of content comes right into the platform. And this is where students can practice this particular concept, videos that they can watch, and things like that. So especially when you're looking to build curriculum in Schoology, integrations that we have like CK12 with CK12 or with Open Ed resources or a lot of others, you look for those kind of Open Ed resources that actually have content that can maybe be pulled in to build out your curriculum. It's a great way for Mr. Bates to have some really high level content.
That's great. One question I had, Adam, was does CK12 need to be added as an app?
It does. And actually what can happen for a institution is that they can have the system admins can request from CK12. By the way, we have a blog article all about this that we'll be able to send out after this meeting. But essentially it's an app that can be configured at the institutional level. And once that app is added, all the courses within the institution, when they go to add materials, you can have that CK12 app. Same thing with like Open Ed assessments. Even Merlot offers those kind of functionality right within the platform.
Right, that's great.
Now, I know that was a brief kind of looking at OER in a lot of different ways. I wanted to kind of end that part with kind of this overview that you had for us, Fran, of some kinds of the workflow of using OERs.
Right, so, you know, one of the things that I think is really important as you're considering it is that, you know, besides the whole planning, we talked about a lot of that part of it is the technical workflow of it is when you're actually going to use something, it's important that you consider what format you're using. So if you're using, for example, an image, what you know, what kind of image can you use, a video or the file? So consider the format as one thing. And then consider the delivery. Are you actually looking, and I think you went through this very quickly, but this is exactly what you did. You know, you're looking at for a lesson, a tutorial, or is it a full course? And then, of course, you know, we talked about the learning management system, which in this case would be Schoology. And this is a process that is going to be in review and reflection and redo. It's a living kind of process. And it's a great thing to, again, I talked about PLC, professional learning communities, you know, working with a department or grade level and actually working on curriculum together where you can also reflect and build your courses together. I think that's really important that the one thing about OER is the whole idea behind Creative Commons is that you're going to gain from it, but you're also going to give back to others. So that was the whole flow of how this is done.
Right. Well, with all that said, if you wanted to see Schoology more in action, whether it's pulling in OER resources or whether you want to see more about the different question types that are available in Schoology, obviously demos are always available by going to Schoology.com and requesting a demo.